Parshat Naso, the Torah tells us there's a commandment for the Kohanim to bless the congregation, and this mitzvah is observed, it's supposed to be observed every single day during the tefillah of Shahrit Mincha, during the fast days Mincha, Ne'ilah Yom Kippur, but Shahrit daily is mitzvah to do Birkat Kohanim. The minhag of the Ashkenazim is to, outside of Israel, not to do Birkat Kohanim every day. They do it only on Musaf of Yom Tov. There are many Achronim who want to discuss what's the reason for their custom. The Bet Yosef brings a few opinions. He says one opinion is that since they have the opinion you have to go and dip in the mikveh before you do Birkat Kohanim, and since that's not possible to do every morning, so not always, so therefore the minhag was only do it on holidays, Yom Tov, where they for sure did dip in the mikveh that day. And also, there's another opinion that they have to be besimcha. You have to be happy when you bless the Am Yisrael. And since during the week we're busy with parnasah and other things, not always in that happy state of mind. So therefore, on Yom Tov, where there's mitzvah of simcha, they are in that state of mind to be able to bless the Jewish people properly. However, the minhag of the Sfaradim is not to do it only on Yom Tov, rather to do it every single day. Maran writes in Kuf Havchet that on a fast day you would say Birkat Kohanim also during Mincha. Has to be that it's a later Mincha, an early Mincha on a fast day would not do Birkat Kohanim, but a later Mincha close to Shkia would. And also Ne'ilah on Yom Kippur we also do Birkat Kohanim in the afternoon. The reason why in a regular Mincha you don't do Birkat Kohanim is because maybe during the day the Kohanim drank alcohol. Kohen that drank alcohol is not allowed to do any part of the avodah, any part of the temple service, and that includes the Birkat Kohanim. The Gemara Sechet Sotah, Daf Mem, discusses the reason why Kohanim must take off their shoes before they bless the people. So they take off their shoes. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai has instituted for two reasons. It's not kavod if they all had dirty, muddy shoes. It's not kavod for the Kohanim to stand in front of the kahal with dirty shoes. And number two, where they're concerned that their shoes might be, the laces or the straps that they used to have in those times would get undone. He would bend down, Haz v'Shalom, during Birkat Kohanim to fix it, and it will look like he's not doing the Birkat Kohanim. People will think he's a Pasul Kohen. So therefore, in order to avoid this issue, they take off their shoes before the Birkat Kohanim. And they obviously have washed their hands. They take off their shoes. The Kaf Haim writes that preferably they should put their shoes in a hidden place, under the table, under a chair, not to leave it lying around. So it shouldn't look like someone's front doorstep by their house. It shouldn't look like a mess. It's a bit knesset. It should be with kavod. They should put it on the side, under something, not to be out in the open. Also, it's very important to stand in the proper place during Birkat Kohanim. The Gemara Sechet Sotah says that the Kohanim, they give the blessing only forwards, and they slightly turn, so that only gives the area in front of them and a little bit to the side of them. Anybody who's mamash behind the Kohanim, let's say you're praying by the bookshelf, and you're praying by the window, and they're here standing giving the bracha. If you stand over there, you're not included in the bracha. You have to be in front of the Kohanim to be able to receive the bracha. Yivarechecha is a very special thing that Rashi says. Yivarechecha means Hashem should give you parnasah. You should have a lot of money, and that's right away. Hashem says Yivarecha Hashem v'yishmerecha. Hashem should guard you. So when you have a lot of money, you need to be protected. Nobody should take away from you. Sometimes people, when they get a lot of money, they change. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu should protect you. There's nothing, you shouldn't change. You should still stay the same humble guy. But then on top of that, we also have the interesting minhag by Birkat Kohanim that the fathers, they put their hands over the children and they cover them with the talit. So the reason why is there such a minhag? So many of the Achronim deal with this, and it really stems from the Gemara Masech Hagigah that says it's asur to stare at the Kohanim during the Birkat Kohanim. The Shekhinah is flowing through their hands, and then Shekhinah is there helping them give them bracha. Therefore, it weakens the eyesight. It blinds the person, Haz v'Shalom. And on top of the Yushalmi says, you lose focus on the bracha when you're staring at the Kohanim. So it's Shulchan Aruch says it's forbidden to stare at the Kohanim during Birkat Kohanim. So the little kids, they like to stare. Birkat Kohanim is a very interesting part of the tefillah. So the kids might stare. So therefore, the minhag became to cover the kids, that they shouldn't stare. You cover them with talit, and they shouldn't stare. Also, the bracha, people want bracha to be for the children. They want their kids to get bracha. So they put their hands over the children. But if you have adult children, and they all come next to you, and what, you're going to cover them so they shouldn't look at the Kohanim? They know not to look at the Kohanim. So this doesn't really apply if you have adult children, especially if you're going to speak during the Hazarat HaShatz. Maran writes explicitly it's forbidden to speak during the petition of the Amidah. Sometimes people say, Bracha Boshe, Bezat Hashem, you should buy a house, Bezat Hashem, you should domot. All these brachot they give during Birkat Kohanim. He wants to add to the Birkat Kohanim from his own. It's very nice, it's very, very beautiful, but it's not the right time for to do it during repetition Amidah. So therefore, if those who are going to go, and you don't have to put, the minhag is not that you don't have to put your hands over the adult children. If you want to, make sure you don't talk. Sometimes they kiss their father's hands, but there's no reason to have a conversation at that time. There's a wonderful story, a parable. People could ask, what's the point of saying musar all the time? And reminding people and saying alachot and saying, warning people from doing mistakes. They asked the Chafetz Chaim, Rabbi, how many times should he say the same thing? People don't listen. What's the point of saying it? So Chafetz Chaim said a mashal, there was a lady who was selling apples in the bazaar. And she kept saying, apples for $5, pound of apples $5, pound of apples $5. So there's thousands of people who are walking by, and one guy staring at her for 5 minutes, nobody bought anything. So he says to her, Miss, you're here standing for hours saying you're selling apples, nobody's buying from you. 1,000 times you said apples, selling apples, what's the point of saying 1,000 times? He said, listen, I stand here the whole day and I say probably over 20,000 times about selling apples. And it's enough that 5, 6 people come by and they buy something. I made parnasah for the day. So it's worth it. It's worth it to say 20,000 times. 5, 6 people will buy something. He says, the Chafetz Chaim says the same thing. I'll say 20,000 times a certain halakha. 20,000 times I'll say about a certain thing that we have to work on. Okay, if it was enough, even 1 or 2 people, they start keeping the halakha, it was worth it to say it 20,000 times. So therefore, a person has to realize in his home, sometimes we need to work on things ourselves or in our families and our friends. It's worth it to say it 20,000 times, even if 1 friend will start keeping halakha.